Now, Sports Talk with Broads. Here's Hunter Brody.
Hey everyone, just know that you can use the promo code BROADS for $20 off of your SeatGeek's total purchase, so make sure you get yourself to a game. The Sixers dropped their second game in a row. They lose in Utah 106-104. I don't know how the Sixers were involved late. It doesn't make sense. The score doesn't describe how the game played out. The Utah Jazz abused the Sixers on the glass. They outworked the Sixers. The Jazz played the game way harder than the Sixers did, and they deserved to get the W. But the storyline coming out of this ballgame for the Philadelphia Sixers is clearly losing Ben Simmons. He has a sprained AC joint in his right shoulder, and he will be evaluated again tomorrow. It's a big-time loss. I'm concerned for the future and how much time he will miss because it looked bad. You saw the replay. One replay was him grabbing a steal and falling down on the ground hard. Nothing looked too brutal there, but then they showed another replay where he was trying to bang his shoulder into a Jazz player there by the baseline and instantly grabbed his shoulder once he got rid of the ball and he was in big-time discomfort. So it looks concerning to the point where he will miss some time, and it just sucks moving forward. When you lose your floor general, it's a problem. Your teammates get lost. Neto stepped in and had a nice spark, and he created a little bit of offense there at times, but he's not Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons facilitates at an elite level. You can knock Ben for his inability to shoot and some of his offensive plays that he makes in terms of throwing shots up at the basket that look hideous, but he's an elite facilitator. He drives the lane and he grabs people's attention and he kicks out the wide open players. He can create open looks for his teammates. He has phenomenal vision. And I think that was a factor in how awful the Sixers looked offensively. Now, the spacing is still screwed up. Guys like Al Horford struggle with Joel Embiid on the floor. Guys like Tobias Harris struggle with Joel Embiid on the floor. So that's spacing issues that Brett Brown is going to have to figure out. It doesn't happen overnight. That's why I stated earlier in the season it's going to take time to adjust because players are playing with different people and the spacing is a problem. And Al Horford at the 4 compared to the 5, it's completely different. You saw Al Horford dominate the last 2 games without Joel Embiid, and when Embiid comes back, he's shooting 3 of 14. You got to figure out a way, and the only way to do that is to continue to play games and try different stuff. But Ben Simmons going down is tough, and we have to wait and see what exactly the problem is and how much time he will miss, but it looked somewhat significant. I don't think he's going to be playing next week. I hope I'm wrong, I really do, but my gut feeling after seeing his reaction to banging his shoulder down low on someone trying to gain an advantage, it looked like he was in a lot of pain. And we do know at this point that it's sprained, so there is something there. All right, so let's get to the game. Like I said, the Jazz on the offensive side of the glass was amazing. Rudy Gobert grabbing rebounds. We know what he brings to the table, not just defensively, but offensively as well. Down low, he grabs rebounds. He's annoying and he's hard to deal with. They had 14 offensive rebounds and out-rebounded the Sixers. When the Sixers early in the season were getting their W's, they were working on the glass. How many times do I have to say it? Rebounding is a work ethic thing. If you have the will and you have the wants, you will grab more rebounds. And I don't think the Sixers brought the intensity on the boards or defensively in this basketball game at all. They were not intense enough. Down the stretch, it was super close. I don't know how. I just don't know how. The Sixers were not playing good enough to be involved in the game, but they were. But real late, things got ugly. Defensively, miscommunication, wide open 3 for Bogdanovich. Then Josh Richardson turns the ball over underneath the basket, and he actually had a really solid game, and that was his turnover of the game, sadly, and it happened in the big-time moment. Then the Sixers don't foul properly late. They let so much time run off the clock. Were they going to win if they fouled at the right time? Who knows? Probably not, but that's not the point. They weren't on the same page. Late, they collapsed, and they did not play good enough basketball. Joel Embiid also missed a big-time free throw, and so did Tobias Harris, but Joel Embiid was 16 of 18 from the line. So, human nature comes into play there. 16 of 18 from the free throw line is pretty damn good all around, but just in those clutch moments, you would like to see him hit it. At one point in this game, during the third quarter, Tobias Harris in 25 minutes was minus 19 and hit one shot. He was so bad. But then in the fourth, he came alive. But that's when Joel Embiid wasn't clogging up the middle. There's a problem right now with how this team executes offensively. When Joel Embiid is down low and he's clogging up space, other guys can't get going. The team is struggling to find itself offensively. We figured that would be a problem, but we need to find a way to make it work. By the way, I mentioned Josh Richardson's night. Definitely solid. 24 points, 8 of 13 shooting. This was a game that he played his best basketball for the Sixers so far. He's moving around a lot of different positions. Brett has him doing a lot of things. But I think he found himself a little bit in Utah. Embiid's first point in the second half came super late in the fourth quarter. I believe just above 4 minutes left. How is that possible? Once again, it dates back to trying to get other guys going, trying to get Tobias Harris going. The offense is not clicking. The offense is struggling big time. Embiid had 18 points in the first half. He finished with 27 and 16. Not an awful night statistically, but I thought you saw him fatigued at times. His body language showed that he was tired. I don't think he had his best defensive game. So all around, you look at the stats for Embiid, and 27 and 16 looks great, and his free throws look great. And it wasn't a bad game, but it wasn't a great game either, because I think he slacked defensively, and he looked tired at times. And I thought Rudy Gobert grabbed some rebounds and stuff on him, and it was a good battle between the two big men. They're both very talented players. But Joel looked at moments like he was feeling it. Like he didn't play in 2 games. Like he was suspended for 2 games. Speaking of the Jazz, though, Donovan Mitchell had 24 points, I believe. Yep, 24 points. This is the one thing with Donovan Mitchell. I think he's a great player, all right? He's a great player. But he took 23 shots to get 24 points. He's not afraid to shoot. He's got the green light at all times. I'm not knocking him. He's got the confidence to shoot no matter what. It's sort of like a cornerback thing. If you're in the NFL and you're a cornerback and you get waxed, what do you think the next play? If you're a good corner, what do you think the next play? I got this. I got this. Well, that's what Donovan Mitchell thinks. If he misses a shot and it's ugly, or it's not even ugly, it's just a shot he misses, he comes back the next time down the floor and he's willing to shoot again. That's fine. That's a good mentality to have. But he drops a lot of points and takes a ton of shots at the same time. He's not the most efficient. For example, I mentioned Josh Richardson, who also scored 24 points. He did it on 13 shots. So Donovan Mitchell, I like his game, but he shoots a ton for his points. So I think when people see the points all the time, it's flawed. And I say that with any player. I'm not just pointing out Donovan Mitchell because of him and Ben Simmons and the argument. I don't care about that crap. Rookie of the Year means nothing to me compared to winning championships and actually developing a game. I mentioned Neto. He created spark for this team. But one thing the Jazz did offensively, the pick and roll, and got to their spot. And it was noticeable. The Sixers struggled to defend that. It was a pick. You just got a mid-range jumper. Cash. Consistently. The Jazz continue to get to the same spots on the floor. We got to do a better job at defending that. We can't allow them to just take wide open mid-range jumpers possession after possession. Find a way to fight through it. Find a way to stay with your man. Find a way to be a good defender and get in the way. You can't allow them to be that open. This is the NBA. This isn't my driveway where I'll dare you to shoot a mid-range jumper because you'll make it 1 out of 10 times. They're going to make those wide open mid-range J's. I didn't like how effective that was for the Jazz and how consistent they were on getting to that spot and knocking it down. Denver on Friday. It's a test. It's a big-time test. I'll have you updated here as we get more information on Ben Simmons, but my guess is he will not play. No excuses. No excuses. In the standings, when the season's over, they don't have a symbol saying, well, Ben Simmons was hurt for this amount of time, so those games don't matter as much. No, these games matter. We got to win. We got to win. I know how many losses are going to come in a season. I'm not saying specifically, but knowing the talent on the rosters, knowing how many wins we're shooting for, I understand there are going to be a decent amount of losses in an 82-game season. So you need to react knowing that. That's why I'm not crying about a game in November. I don't think they played good enough, though. But my question I always ask my buddies who freak out texting me during games, specifically like tonight. Last year during our playoff run against Toronto, how many people brought up the November games? How many people brought up what happened November 5th, November 6th, November 7th? No one. There's meaning behind it, absolutely. You want to see this team play well. You want to make sure Ben Simmons is healthy and not too hurt. You want to make sure this offense can find ways to score with Embiid in the paint and Al Horford out there and Tobias Harris out there. Absolutely. And these are the moments where you develop that chemistry. But at the end of the day, it is still November. It's game, 7? It's frustrating. It's annoying. I want to see the team compete harder because you can at least control that. You can control the work ethic. You can control the defensive intensity. So absolutely, I want to see them play better. I'm not crying about it, though. But I think they need to play better. I told you what you're going to get out of Tobias. You're going to get games where he drops 29 and looks great. You're going to get games where he looks like this through the first 3 quarters. We need to come together and find a way for this team to really flow. We do. You're starting to see Matisse Thybulle's role get figured out here. Less minutes. He played 13 minutes. He was minus 13. He's struggling offensively. I mean, he really, really is struggling offensively. Might be a little overwhelmed. It's just what it is right now. He's very raw. We know his tools defensively, but you're starting to see his role get smaller from the expectations earlier in the season. I don't think he's going to be playing 20-plus minutes a night and being this insanely dominant defensive guy. He's going to play in that 10 to 15 minutes. Well, now that Ben Simmons is going to be injured, there's a chance for a guard to step up and have more minutes. So maybe you will if the injury is longer term. But I think you're starting to see what he is now that we have a 7-game sample. And I'm not knocking him. I understand that it is a different type of league and it is hard to learn and hard to adjust. Okay, I get that. But I just think, you're not going to see 28 minutes of elite defense out of Matisse Thybulle. I think his inability to be an offensive threat is going to limit him with minutes because you're going to need someone to stretch the floor. We have trouble right now spacing the floor. So to think that we're going to have this kid who is a great defender who can't put the ball on the floor and isn't this fantastic three-point guy, to think we're going to put him out there to gain all these minutes when we're struggling with scoring and struggling with stretching the floor, it doesn't seem realistic in my opinion. Furkan Korkmaz continues to grab those minutes. Speaking of stretching the floor, he knocked down a couple threes today, but he wasn't the 20-point Furkan Korkmaz that we saw over the last couple nights, or the 17-point Furkan Korkmaz. We did not see that in this ball game. But, it's just frustrating because I thought when it came down to it, what mattered in this game? Of course, Ben Simmons going down, but that's not the excuse. What really mattered was the Jazz competed harder. They wanted it more. They cared more. They did the little things right. And I don't think the Sixers did that. I mean this. I do not understand, and I cannot comprehend how it was that close late. Maybe that's a sign. Like, this team played so awful, and they were still engaged with a Jazz team late. Or you think, what the hell are they doing? Just what the hell are they doing? You could look at it in two different ways. And also, it seems like every team we play, someone who has been stinking over the last few games comes alive against the Sixers. And in this one, it was Ingles. Ingles has struggled. He couldn't find his rhythm. He wasn't making shots. Well, here comes the Sixers in town, and Joe Ingles starts knocking down shots off the bench and hitting threes. The Jazz are a good team. The addition of Mike Conley and having Bogdanovich and Donovan Mitchell is a great player. Rudy Gobert. I mean, they have a good team. They got a fun, exciting team. They're very talented. I think this is the best Utah Jazz team that they've had in a while. So it's not a knock to lose in their arena on the road without Ben Simmons after the first 10 minutes. They are a very good team. They're well coached, and they got a lot of hype surrounding them. It's no knock. But they competed harder than us. You can control that. I've heard that way too many times throughout my hockey career. Bros, you can control your work ethic. You can control how hard you work in practice. You can control that kind of stuff. Because maybe there was a play that I took the shift off a little bit. Maybe there was a moment when I did that. Me? Lazy during a shift? No way. Not me, right? Never. I always gave it 350%, right? But, definitely a frustrating one. The big news, though, is going to be Ben Simmons, and keeping an eye out on when the beat reporters and when the Sixers drop the news on what exactly is going down. For everyone that wanted to trade Ben Simmons, get rid of Ben Simmons after the game in Phoenix, did you see the difference when Neto is your starting point guard or Josh Richardson your starting point guard for a long period of time? I know how important it is for Ben Simmons to learn how to shoot, but we are so focused on that one thing. It's almost as if fans do not realize what he is so spectacular at. I get how big the spacing on the floor is, and I know he needs to figure it the hell out. But he still does things at an elite level without that jumper, and you saw the difference without him in there. Getting open looks for his teammates, driving, defensively. Defensively, the guy's a beast. His ability to run downhill, it changes what the other team does defensively when you see someone like Ben Simmons running down the floor, or even just thinking that he might run down the floor full speed downhill. It changes so much, and when he drives and how you collapse in the paint and he can kick out and hit Josh Richardson wide open, Furkan out, Horford. But it's completely different when it's Neto out there. And I didn't think Neto played bad. I thought he created spark. A couple moments where he didn't have his strongest basketball. But all around, I've been pleasantly surprised with his ability off the bench. He's a better TJ McConnell. Way better TJ McConnell. Let me know your thoughts down below. We got to bounce back. It's just as simple as that. We have to bounce back in Denver. This is a tough road trip. Really. Portland, Phoenix, who is a good team. Utah Jazz, good team. Denver, good team. It's a tough road trip. Early in the season, testing the Sixers. How are you going to respond? Here is some adversity. Here's a reality check. How about that? If you don't work hard enough, you're going to get beat. If you think you're going to walk all over a team, you're going to get beat. If you don't grab rebounds, you're going to get beat. Maybe it's a reality check that they need. Listen, fellas, it's not going to be easy. You're not going to roll through the NBA. You're not going to win 70 basketball games. Go out there and give me better defensive intensity. Because I thought that lacked. Some things to clean up. It's just that simple. Specifically, that pick and roll defense. I need to see that change. I don't know if it will, and that goes on the coaching staff, but I need to see that change because I've seen it too much now. They get to their spots way too easy, and they knock them down. Oh, and if they don't knock them down, guess what? They grab the offensive rebound and put it back in. So disgusting. So disgusting to think about. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hit that thumbs up button, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.